excited. Okay, let's get this going. Continue. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited you're here. I'm looking right now. Where are you guys all from?
We've got people from Virginia and Arizona and Ohio, New York City.
Wisconsin. That's all over. That's so fun. I'm so excited.
Maryland, San Francisco Bay. I hope you guys are staying safe.
Yeah, all that smoke right now. We got it out here too. It was crazy. San Diego, Illinois. That's great. So what do you guys like the most about Halloween? What's your favorite piece of Halloween decor?
I have a fake skeleton. His name is Keith.
The candy. Yeah, I totally get that. Oh, I love ornamental pumpkins. I'm so excited to go get some this year.
Do you carve fake ones, real ones, or both?
Usually fake. Real ones are very difficult. I'll leave that to those
And
pumpkin
messy.
masters you see on TV.
Right? They're amazing.
Ooh, a Halloween dollhouse.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome. Miniatures. I love miniatures.
Does anybody do trunk or treats? That's the big thing out here, is trunk or treats. People decorate the trunk of their cars, and then kids go around to the cars.
I was just at Michael's today, and they have a ton of kits for that. That looked really awesome.
I made mine look like a dungeon.
Oh, that's so clever. I love that.
Yeah, just get one of those big wall tarp things and duct taped it to some boxes.
I hope we can do a trunk or treat this year. Yep, that's a really good point. I'm interested to see how that all goes.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to play it by ear.
If not, I'm just going to buy a bunch of candy for myself.
I do that every year anyway, so.
Oh, you get what you like.
Exactly. All right, I think we're good to go.
Are we ready to start?
Think so.
Okay, awesome. Hi, everybody. My name is Kristen from blissmakes.com. I'm really excited to be here. I can't wait to show you guys how to make this really spooky, fun DIY eyeball wreath. It's a very simple process. Feel free to reach out with any questions if you have. Put them in the chat and we will answer them and help you along the way. But for the most part, I think that you guys will really enjoy this process. It's very simple. And I don't know if you're ready to switch the camera over, but I can kind of show you an overhead of what it looks like and what we're kind of going for. Move it around a little bit. So we're going to paint some foam balls into little eyeballs. We're going to use Tulle to decorate the wreath. We've got some fun branches from Ashland and a Dahlia from Ashland. And then we're going to decorate a wreath base with some ribbon. The first thing that we're going to start doing is decorating our eyeballs. And this is a really, really simple thing. I like, if you purchase the eyeballs from Michael's, they come on a sticky sort of like plastic essentially. And I put them back on here to dry. If you have tape, that also works, like duct tape or anything like that. You can take your eyeball and put it back on there after we start painting it, because otherwise it will like roll around and you will have paint everywhere. I used 3 different colors. And this is just acrylic paint, guys. If you have any other kind of paint, go for it. I'd say use anything besides a oil-based paint, because we want it to dry so we can draw in the iris of our eyeballs, okay? All right, let's get started on these guys. So I have 3 different colors of paint. The iris, oh, just a heads up, the iris can either be black paint. I'm gonna use a paint pen. I just feel like it gives me a little bit more precision. So in order to do this, all we have to, and this is really simple, we're just gonna do a couple passes. Just paint, can you guys see well? Okay, good. And this doesn't have to be perfect again, because you know what, once it goes on the door, you can't even hardly see it, like any imperfections, honestly. I don't get super specific with it, but you just paint a circle, a little bit larger than a dime, a little bit, or I'm sorry, a nickel, and a little bit smaller than a quarter, I would say is the best way to estimate that. And you can see we're gonna need a couple passes on this. So I let it dry. And I'm gonna make 10 eyeballs to kind of decorate out the piece. I made, let me count, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, 9 small eyeballs and then 1 large eyeball that will go in the center. I'll show you. Right here is the large eyeball, if you can see it inside of the Dahlia. So I'd say prep about 9 eyeballs, or all 10, get your big one going too. Let them dry, and then while they're drying, we will work on decorating the wreath. Just make sure you've got your hot glue guns ready, because that is a lot of hot glue that is needed for that part. I always like to have a few different paintbrushes on hand. I have always like 3 for each color. And you can see just kind of like C motion brush strokes. And let me know if you guys have any questions while we're working on this, okay? And then put it back on the sticky to dry. And so essentially we would create 10 of those. And while they're drying, I'm going to get started on wrapping our wreath base. Okay. So I used a foam wreath base, very simple. You can find them at Michael's. I believe this one is 12 inches. They come in a variety of different sizes, so whichever one you prefer. And then I have a pair of scissors here that's handy. And I really, really, really loved this. It's by Celebrate It, and it's this black and white. It kind of reminds me of Beetlejuice. I just had to have it.
Yes, I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it with the orange. I was like, oh, I want to make so many different things with this ribbon. It's so funny how such a simple pattern can just really bring up so many different memories. So I keep the ribbon on the stool for the most part in this particular portion, just because I didn't want there to be any kind of lines. We're going to wrap this base. Move this over so you guys can see. I apologize. Just like this, and keep it super tight so you can get the idea for the entire process, and then we'll cut it at the end. So the first step to do so is to add a little bit of hot glue. And I'd say, because hot glue dries really fast, which is a blessing and a burden when you're crafting. I also always like to use a low temp glue gun when I'm crafting, because my hands, like I'll use my hands to press things down and whatnot. So it's always a good idea to avoid burning yourself by using a low temp glue gun if you have one. And so we're just going to wrap super tightly, and you can see I'm using my fingers to hold it in place, and then I pull around, just kind of creating that overlapping effect essentially. And so, yeah, I'd say about an inch or two would work. Oh, I'm so interested. Yeah, what color eyes is everybody painting? I went with green, red, and blue, but I could see some really fun colors. We could do rainbow, purple, totally unique to your style.
If I was doing them, I might add little squiggly red lines to make them look like they're
Yeah,
clear.
get those like bloodshot eyes going. That's
Mhm.
great. I love that. Paint pens are always a good thing to have on hand when we're crafting. Again, just let me know if you have any questions. The key here is just to keep it super tight, and I need to keep it in the frame for you guys. I apologize. Just wrapping around. And then I always kind of take a second to retighten it on the stool so it doesn't twist, and it helps us kind of keep it in place. And then I just sort of press down to make sure that it's adhering.
So Jana says she is making chartreuse, pink, and lavender purple eyes.
Oh, oh, that's great.
What color is your ribbon going to be, Jana?
Now I want to make sure choose eyes.
Right?
It's a good idea.
And if you're not
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, if they're not crafting along, they can tell us what they plan on doing.
Yeah,
They
I'd love
plan
to
on-
hear your guys' plan if you're just using this for sort of an inspiration. This is totally something that you can do with kids. You'll definitely want to help them out, making sure that we're using kid-safe products, of course. Some of this like tightening stuff you'll probably want to help them with, but I can just imagine they'd have a blast painting the eyeballs. Again, just kind of adding about an inch or two of glue. Oh, Jana went with black and white checkerboard ribbon. That's going to be super cute. I can't wait to see it when you're done. When you guys are done sharing or creating your crafts, and if you want to share it on social, make sure you hashtag it, make it with Michaels, and then you can also tag me at bliss.makes so I can see what you did, because I'd also love to share it in my stories.
I love how the stripes are lining up, but like long ways.
I know. It's like, I'm just so fascinated by this ribbon. They have a really great selection this year too of different types of ribbon that you can get. And a lot of the product is on sale right now. I was over at Michael's today, which I was always excited to see. Always happy to get a good deal. Okay.
So Karen says big fake eyelashes would be cute. I agree.
Oh, I love that. Gosh, you guys. I always get so much inspiration when I teach a class from the people who join in. Like, okay, next year, chartreuse eyeballs with fake eyelashes. It's happening. Okay, so after you want to go ahead and complete this all the way around. After you get done, you're just going to add that kind of final piece of glue to seal it up right here. So I actually am using a little bit of this tape that came off of it. And so our finished product, what we want it to look like is going to be right here. Again, I'll show you the back side of this just so you can get a good idea. But I think you got the gist of wrapping it around essentially. But you want to kind of get this whole area. And you know, you don't have to cover, like I used orange tulle and I covered it all, but if you've got like a really cool pattern with your ribbon that you've got going, feel free to only use a little bit of the tulle, but that's the next step we're gonna go to. Actually, you know what? The next step we're gonna go to, instead of jumping to that, I'm gonna hop back and check on our eyeballs because we wanna go ahead and, you know, just for the sake of time, add another layer there. So I had my paintbrushes kind of rinsing off so they don't get hard in the meantime. And I always just put it in water and dab it on a paper towel. And then I twist it so we get the shape of the brush back. I feel like once the brush loses its shape, it just can get really difficult to be specific or precise with it rather. So we're gonna go ahead and add, usually it takes about 2 layers of paint to cover up all the white foam popping through. Again, just see shaped motions and then kind of covering up in the middle, keeping an eye out for any extra like globs you have, just smoothing them out. You only need to dip your paintbrush in like 1 time in order to get enough paint on it. Otherwise, you may run into a lot of extra paint and it gets kind of messy. And I think the biggest tip I can give you guys is using this sticky adhesive stuff. It's just amazing. Otherwise, you will have eyeballs rolling all over your craft area or kitchen in my case. Okay.
Which if you're trying to scare the rest of your family, might be a good thing.
Or your dog.
That too.
My dog would grab it and run off, and then he would have green paint all over his mouth, which would be super fun to clean. All right. And again, I'm not even worried about it being super perfect because this is all about just enjoying yourself in the process. With everything going on, crafting is a super cathartic thing for me. So I tend to use it as less about perfection, more about just having a good time. Because in the end, it actually ends up looking good. You have so many different things going on in the actual wreath that you won't even notice. So we're gonna go ahead and let those dry, and then we'll add our irises in a little bit, and we're gonna get started on adding the tulle portion to our wreath. So I used just a really simple orange tulle. You can get this into different colors. I'm putting these black branches on, so I felt like using orange would be a nice contrast, but they've got a ton of, you can use hot pink, you could use like all kinds of different candy colors and get super creative with it. There's just like a ton of different stuff you could get at Michael's with this. Some of them have glitter. I went with a matte one because the glitter kind of gets everywhere, and since I'm crafting in my kitchen and not my craft room, I thought I'd save my husband glittery feet basically for a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut a piece off. Now, I usually go with, I'd say about a foot. I want to show you if I can, the entire piece that I cut. So about a foot of tulle is all you really need at a time. And this is just gonna, because the tulle gets very like tangled when we're creating this, especially because this is the motion we're gonna do. So we're gonna take the end that you cut and kind of smush it up a little bit to create sort of a crunching effect. And then I'd say it's like about maybe an inch. And you can see with my thumb, I'm just bringing it up and then using these 2 fingers to bring it back down again. And then doing the same thing with this specific piece of tulle. And again, like I said, you don't have to cover the whole thing. You can like cover parts of your wreath in like little bits, or just do like sections essentially, but whichever works for you. So it's very similar to the same process. Again, I always recommend using a low temp glue gun because with this specific technique, I do use my fingers to sort of get in there. If you are using a high temp glue gun, just kind of be cognizant of that it's going to be hot if you press down, okay? So we've got about 1 inch of hot glue added to our wreath, and then we're going to press down onto the glue to adhere the tulle. Very simple. And once you have this technique, this is going to be something you can do so many projects with. And so if it, like you could, I mean, just once figuring out tulle and the different things you can do with it and how easy, it looks a lot fancier once it's adhered than it actually is, than the process actually is. It looks like I did a lot more than just scrunch up some tulle together. And we're going to go ahead and cut out about another foot. And again, I just kind of estimate it, to be honest with you. Do you guys work with tulle a lot? Have you made any fun projects using tulle? I'd love to hear.
Tulle scares me.
Why? Yeah, it does scare people. I'm not scared of tulle anymore, though, after this project.
Yeah,
It's a very
so many
approachable
little
craft.
holes. And I feel like with the hot glue gun, it's just not, I feel like it's just, I'm not sure about it. But I guess if you get the low temp glue gun, it's better.
That's the key. Honestly, I feel like, you know, I have some really nice, giant, big glue guns, and I tend to always go back to my low temps just because it's a more malleable type of glue.
So we have someone that said they, tulle has always been unwieldy, so they stay away. But this, the way that you're showing them how to use it is helping.
See, it's just scrunching it all together and then not being afraid to just get in there with the glue. And then because of the fact that it's just so poofy, I guess, for lack of better words, you won't see any of the imperfections you got. And we can always go back over. If it doesn't all smush down, don't fret. We'll wait till the end and add in little bits of glue to kind of hack it, essentially, because that happened to me when I was creating my first wreath.
So Jana says she likes to, or has, wrapped tulle around a cone for a Christmas tree.
Oh, that's so clever. I bet you could do so many things, like twist it and just create a lot of really fun things. I love those. What are they? They're like these cardboard Christmas trees you can get that are unfinished that you can decorate. Yeah. And so you can see how it didn't all stick here. Again, nothing to worry about. We're having a good time, just relaxing and crafting. So nothing to stress over. We'll just kind of fix it as we go.
They're loving the bright red orange color.
Thank you. I'm excited. That makes me happy. I wasn't sure which color to go with.
They are very, we've got some good feedback about Karen's idea for the eyelashes.
Yeah, I know. That is just so clever.
I'd love to see set next year's decor trend. Big eyelashes. I love all the comments from everybody.
Tulle's like really cool. If you have one of those wreath bases that have holes in it, where it's like almost like a skeleton of a wreath, basically, just because we're doing Halloween, why not, right? You can weave it in and out, just sort of like pulling pieces like this in and out, or you can tie it in half, like using a pipe cleaner and have it pop out, and it will create kind of a really fun, like, flowery effect. I actually did a pretty cool blog post on that, and that was my first time using Tulle, and I get it. It was a little like, whoa, what am I getting myself into? This looks like experienced crafter stuff. But I think the reason why Tulle looks like that is because it's just so deceiving. It looks so much fancier than it really is once you get it all going. How's everybody doing with their eyeballs? Does anybody have any questions there?
I don't see any questions about eyeballs, but Nina says this definitely looks zen to do.
Oh,
So
good.
calming.
Yeah. And that's the goal for me, at least with making, is to just enjoy myself and not put a lot of pressure on it. At the end of the day, it's a hobby, not, see, look how this one didn't stick all the way. No big deal, we'll fix it. I find myself hacking my way through a lot of crafts, to be honest with you, to make them work.
I feel like that's craft, that's life, that's just
Yes, we've got good life experience going here, guys. You can use this in more
Yes.
facets than just crafting. And so you may end up getting, so here you can see it's like a little imperfection. I don't know if it's coming through. I think it is a little bit where the hot glue is. I just kind of hide them. And you may find some strings from your hot glue popping out. And I wait till the end and I just kind of clear that out.
So Jana says that she actually learns a ton more when things go wrong.
Yeah, that's a great point. You kind
Especially
of
when things
the
go wrong for
master
the
of it.
host.
Don't jinx me. But so far we're doing okay.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch the people who do this often when they make a mistake or have something, like the way that they work it out. It's always very interesting and fun to watch. And like Jana said, you learn a lot.
You do, you really do. I think that, again, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves when we're trying to, when we see something, it looks intimidating, but when you realize that the people who do this all the time run into hiccups along the way with, no issues, they just find a way around it. I remember I was a little kid and I had an artist friend that lived next door, and he taught me that he was teaching me how to draw, and I kept wanting to use the eraser and he wouldn't let me. He said, you have to find a way around the issue instead of using an eraser. And it was like a technique that I've stuck with.
I like that. That's very cool.
Yeah, he used to make like miniatures and he would carve things out of soap. He was a really cool neighbor to have for a creative kid like me.
I bet.
Okay, just adding some more tools so you guys get this process down. But you can see, you wouldn't even know that it's not seamless. It looks like we just kind of did the whole thing basically.
Megan says you should make a new show, Crafting and Life Lessons with Kristen.
That's funny. How to implement this into your everyday lives.
So we've got, I'm assuming LMM is their initials, but they said they think that's, your neighbor was awesome and they're going to use the no eraser technique with their son.
Oh, that's great. That's super awesome. I feel like it really did kind of push me to find workarounds.
Yep. And maybe not be as much of a perfectionist.
Yeah. Well, I think blogging really, that came into play there, because when I started blogging, I put a lot of pressure on myself to be perfect for because I was putting it out there on the internet for everybody to see. And over time, I just realized that it needs to be something that I enjoy doing and not something that makes me feel like I have a lot of pressure on myself, rather. So as long as I felt like I liked the project I was working on, and don't get me wrong, I've redone many projects that turned out wrong for something, but again, that just kind of gives me more experience, essentially. Okay, so you would want to create something that goes all the way around your wreath. And so you'd have all the ribbon on one side and then all the tulle on the other side. You can get creative. Like I said, add different colors of tulle if you want. I actually think I'm going to add a little bit of black that I have, just add some fun to it. I have a little bit of black tulle that I'm going to pop in there too. And this wasn't in my original plan, but why not get a little creative with it? So you can see some of the other fun products that Michael's has. It's like this really fun glittery tulle. And this is the stuff that I tried to protect my husband from with all the glitter, because it tends to rain a little bit. Where do you guys normally craft? Do you craft in your kitchen? Do you craft in a craft room? I like to craft. I have a really cool craft room that I end up just storing my crafts in, and I mostly craft in the kitchen because I like to be around my family. So they're mostly downstairs hanging out, and I'll make a huge mess down here. I think they probably wish I would craft upstairs, but.
I like the craft storage idea. I think I need probably 2 rooms for my craft stuff.
Yeah. Gosh,
There's
yeah,
never enough room. Never enough room.
Never enough room. I am going to have to get rid of a lot of crafts now that we're having a baby. By the way, I'm pregnant, guys. So now that I'm having a baby, my storage room that I was using is going to be his nursery. And it's going to be a very daunting task to go through everything and sort it and get rid of some fun stuff. It's going to be like that. The Marie Kondo, like, which one of these bring me joy?
I don't know if you're like me. I'm always one of those people that I'm like, I don't want to get rid of this because I could use it for, like this, which will probably never happen. But
yeah, craft hoarding. It's a thing.
But yeah, but my brain is like, but no, you can totally use it.
Definitely. Yeah,
we got some congratulations about your baby coming in.
Oh, yay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
He's going to be a crafty guy. That's my goal. I'm already thinking about fun stuff I can do. Sorry, I knocked the camera there a little bit. Make everyone dizzy. So you can see what the entire outline of our wreath is going to look like. So we covered the entire thing with tulle. Do you guys think you'll cover the entire thing with tulle, or do you think that you'll only do parts of it? I'd love to hear what your master plan is.
So Sue says that she crafts in the kitchen. That is her designated area. Tanya wishes she had a craft room, but she does it in the living room for now.
Okay.
LMM crafts in the kitchen and at the dining room table.
Yep, see, me too. Okay.
Karen says she crafts and makes a mess everywhere, and a baby is a very big craft.
Yeah, it's my biggest DIY so far. That's funny.
We've got some people.
Oh, craft in my sewing room.
Yeah.
Laundry mud craft room. Oh, I would love to have a mud room. We don't have those out here in Las Vegas, but I see them on TV. You know, Joanna Gaines is always creating some kind of really fantastic mud room. Just really wish I had one. Out here, it's just so dry in the desert, there isn't really a need for them. Okay, so now we have our irises. I'm actually probably gonna add a quick layer to the green ones. I tend to notice that the darker the paint is, the more layers you're gonna have to create. Great thing is acrylic paint dries super fast and it's water-based, so you can clean it up very easily. I definitely always have paint on my fingers and my nails, and I've totally accidentally gotten paint on this really nice raw wood table, and have been able to get it off fairly easily.
So Megan says that her hubby promised that if she doesn't buy anything with loose glitter, that she could have a craft room when they eventually get a house. I'm not sure I could give up my glitter.
I know, I love glitter. It's the best, but it definitely,
It's also the worst.
Yes, it's the best. You know, it's a love-hate kind of thing. Okay, so after our irises, or after our eyeballs dry, I like to use, I'm a big fan of these Craft Smart paint pens. I just love them. They have a bunch of different types with different types of tips. You can decorate wine glasses if you use like an oil-based paint, basically. I did one where we, you know, mud cloth, they have like kind of fun, like different tribal designs, and I used gold and decorated a wine glass with that. You just get a lot of control when using paint pens, and because the iris is smaller, that was my go-to. And so I just draw a really small little black circle in the center. Keep an eye out, some paint pens will leak on you. So if you have one that's like super leaky, you always want to make sure to kind of dab it out first, roll it, and then dab it again to get out that kind of excess paint that comes. And it's honest to God, oops, hit or miss on what type of paint pen, if it'll leak or not on you, but you just don't want to bring it to your project because that becomes unruly. Karen says glitter is forever.
Karen is not wrong.
And see how fast that acrylic dried? Like I can already draw on it. It takes minutes to dry with acrylic paint.
Sandy said she likes the half and half look with the tulle and the ribbon, and I have to agree. I would love like the tulle on the bottom and then the ribbon on the top.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect. Yeah, the first one I made, I kind of let the tulle go. And I was, you know, after, like I said, you make a craft a couple times and it evolves and gets more in alignment with what your vision is.
Oh, and I don't think there's any right or wrong.
Let me try.
Personal preference.
Absolutely. And again, I don't worry about it if it's like all the same size. They're roughly around the same size. And they're supposed to be a little spooky and creepy, you know? All right, so after we have our eyeballs, and do you have any questions about this at all?
We don't have any questions with the eyeballs. We do have Tara, sorry if I mispronounced that. She's asking if you're going to add a hanger, and if so, if you can show them how.
Yeah, so, you know, we did kind of talk about that. That's funny. You can either use the door hanger for this, or you can add a little bit of twine. And I'm happy to grab some twine real quick and show you how to do that once we finish up. But I would just wrap it essentially around so you can hang it onto a door hanger, because this guy's a little thick. So that's my only concern with door hangers. You want to make sure that it comes out far enough. But twine, ribbon, anything that matches would work perfectly for this. Okay, so again, you want to imagine that we have the ribbon going all the way around. We've got our tulle down here. I added, so these are by Ashland, and if you go to Michael's, they have, I'm sure you guys all know this, but they have this fantastic department filled with wreath goodies, and it's just all the wreath things you could possibly imagine. That's where I found these guys. They had a lot of different, if you can't find these ones in specifically, they had a lot of different branches that you could use. And if you can't find branches, feel free to use something from outside and spray paint it. That would totally work too if you wanted to cut a little piece off of a tree. This wreath is actually based off of a larger project that I did for Michael's in their Made by You campaign. And I took really, 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 really large branches that I had taken out of the desert. I spray painted them black, and I created really large eyeball branches and put them in vases and put them around my door for Halloween. And if you're interested in checking that out, it's on my Instagram. I actually just shared it recently to see what my front porch looks like, but it's all filled with really fun Michael's goodies. So when you are dealing with one of these types of materials, you'll see that they always have the stem attached to it. And the trick to breaking the stem off is literally just breaking it back and forth a lot and loosening up that wire. And I'd say you bend it like 10 or 12, sometimes depending on how thick the product is, like it can go up to like 15 times. Just one second, I'm grabbing my pliers to give the final cut on this.
So Mira or Myra would like to know if you're in the California desert, or you're in the Las Vegas desert, right?
Yeah, we are in the Mojave over here.
And Jana wanted to know when your baby's due.
Oh, he's going to be born January 30th. Well, that's like the goal, but I figure anytime in January he'll probably pop up. Oh, here we go. I apologize. My other tulle wreath was hiding it. Okay. Thank you for your patience, guys. All right. So again, you just kind of twist back and forth, getting them pretty loose. And this goes for any kind of flower that you're using too. That's the trick. If you were to just start breaking it or trying to cut it with like a good pliers, and Michael's has by Ashland a fantastic line of floral cutters too. You could use those. These are just some pliers that I have handy, wire cutters basically. And I kind of finish it off there and boop, comes right off. So we have 2 spooky branches that we're going to add to our wreath, and then we're going to glue eyeballs to them.
So Jana says that January 30th is actually her birthday.
Really? That's so
Yeah.
funny.
Small world.
See, the baby. That's so cool. I love that. His name is going to be Landon James. James is my dad's middle name. But we thought Landon is pretty cool. I asked my nephew who's 5, do you know a lot of Landons? He said no. I'm like, all right, we're in a good place then.
So I like the research you did there.
I did, yeah. Did a competitive market analysis on it.
Yes.
Okay, so you kind of want to get an idea of how you want your branches to lay. And I like to let them, so you can go either way. I like them curving up because it gave me a little bit of a divot to put the eyeballs in. And then I leave about, I'd say, 1/4 of an inch available so we can stick a flower in the center. Okay, now we're gonna adhere our branches. And in order to do that, I just created a line down the center with hot glue. Hot glue is the best for all the things. Never go wrong with it. Again, just making sure you work quickly. I guess the benefit of a hotter hot glue gun is you don't have to work as fast. So if you're creating a project that you know you don't have to get your hands involved in, then using a hot glue gun is always, that's a higher temp is good. But I think the biggest trick for me is I love my low temp. Especially when I'm teaching classes, I have 30 low temp glue guns on hand. So I can never run out of glue guns when I'm at home. And then you just press it into the tool and hold it down so you make sure that everything adheres. And it perfectly weighs down the tool. Like you don't even have to worry about it. I see a little loose piece here. I'll probably tuck in and glue in a little bit. Kind of fixing things along the way. Oh, thanks guys. I love that you like the name. It's a lot of work naming a child. I'm sure you guys can agree.
It really is. I saw something the other day on social that was like, you don't realize how many people you don't like until you try to name your baby.
That is very true. I was like, oh, nope, that's an ex-boyfriend. Can't name him that.
Yep.
So I'm just adding more glue. Sorry, I didn't have that in the frame. You can see here the line of glue. This is pretty easy, huh, guys? It looks like it's a lot more than it is. And so just kind of trying to make sure we stay centered here. And just pressing the glue down. All right, someone says they can't wait to make this when they have all the materials. And it's definitely doable. They still have a bunch of really fun stuff in the store right now. Actually, Michael's is like chocked full with their Halloween decor, which is so exciting. I had all kinds of really cool stuff. My mom picked up a bunch of the silicone molds that they have right now available, and they had some sugar skull ones and some different like headstones and all kinds of different things. And she makes little themed chocolates to bring into work just by melting down some of the Ghirardelli chocolate that they have in the chocolate aisle. And it's a really simple thing to do, and it looks a lot fancier than it really is. Okay, so in order to add the flower, this was a flower that came on a longer stem, and I removed the stem already for us just for the sake of time, but you can see here how I did it. Okay, so the trick is with these flowers is you want to be careful when you're removing a stem on them, because a lot of the times the stem has a lot to do with what's holding all of these layers together. So if you just pull it out, you may end up losing all your layers and then having to re-glue your flower back together, which is a super big pain. So I actually like to usually cut a little bit below this bottom area instead of just like plucking it out. And I did the same technique I did with cutting these. I bent back and forth, used my wire cutters, and clipped it. So I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue to our base to anchor it. And the good thing is with the tool, I didn't have to cut it flush because it'll kind of just all smush in there. So you can see here I've added the hot glue around the base of the flower. I'm going to add it to the center of the wreath and just press it down. And then I add an eyeball to the center of the flower. And I used one of the bigger eyeballs for this. And you'll see linked the size eyeballs I used. It's just two simple sizes. Okay. So we're gonna grab one of the bigger eyeballs that I have prepped already for us. And I painted this one red. Just add a little bit of hot glue to the back of it. And smush it into the center of your flower. And you want to find a flower that doesn't have a pistil kind of sticking out in the center. I think that's the right word for that. I hope it is. So you can kind of let the leaves envelop the flower essentially. And he's leading up a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue to the side to help him adhere.
So Tara wants to know if you're using an industrial grade glue.
Nope, just regular old regular old hot glue. I do use industrial grade glue. I like to use E6000 on projects, but for this particular one, I just don't think it's really necessary. But when I'm doing things that I need to hold, like if you're making, you could make your own planter, for example, with a vase in a bowl. You know, you would take a vase as your base, a vase as your base, and then around the top of it add E6000 and put a bowl on top of it, and then you could spray paint it and you would have like a mid-century planter essentially. That I would use in industrial glue for. It's always a good idea when using industrial glues though to have a mask handy, and I'd say that with spray paint too, because the fumes can be a little gnarly. But for me, E6000 is my go-to for that. You can really do anything with that glue.
It takes a while to dry though.
It does. You definitely want to hold it. But this is just our regular type of hot glue. Okay. So we have our glue flower in the center. This one's just a little different than the original one I did. I wanted to see how this would look. I just like this color. And this was a single stem that I got. Michael's has a few different options right now. They've got bunches of flowers that you could get and add them all the way across, or you can get a single stem in their fall department, and they've got all kinds of really fun different hues essentially that match the type of year that the season that we're in. So then once we have our flower adhered, we're going to go ahead and start gluing our eyeballs. And I just kind of found a spot. It's kind of like when you're decorating for the holidays, you know, when you're setting up a vignette, you look for little holes that need to be filled in, and that's how you can determine where you want to put your eyeballs. It's all based on your preference, really. I liked putting them out on the edge. Do you guys have any other questions about this process or about different products? Any tips or tricks that you are asking about? Maybe different crafts you're working on? I'm always happy to help.
So Tanika says it looks good already.
Oh, yay. And then just hold your eyeball in place for a few minutes so it, well, not minutes, seconds, so it adheres. That guy gave me a tough time. There we go.
So they're asking if the hot glue will hold everything in place well, especially if you hang it on it, like once you turn it sideways and hang it on a door.
Yeah, I had this on my door already, and I have had no issues with it. And yesterday we
Hey, Kristen,
had yes?
is somebody trying to call your phone?
No, that I can see. Hold on.
Oh, I think your camera on your phone turned off.
Just 1 second. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
Did they turn off on both?
No, their front-facing one is still working, but your overhead one. There we go. Hi.
There we go. Hi, guys. It keeps wanting me to turn the sound on that one. Sorry. Oh, just 1 second. I need to read. Well, we'll just go this way. Is this okay for the,
Yep.
Is it landscape or portrait? Are we good?
It's landscape. You're good.
Okay, perfect. I like foam wreaths for this type of project because they give you a larger diameter to work with. But I also love hoop wreaths if you were making something that maybe you didn't need to glue so much to, and it doesn't need as much to adhere to. There's so many fun things you can do with, like, you know, the half hoop wreath. And you could definitely make this in a way that would work on a hoop wreath if you just were to use like the branches. And then I'd also suggest using a little bit of wire to help secure it if you're going to use a hoop wreath. And I'm just grabbing a couple more eyeballs for us to use.
Dawn says she likes how the placement of some of the eyeballs towards the end of the branches makes the eyeballs look like they have eyelashes.
I love it. See, we're all in this like eyelash mode. That's such a great idea. I'm telling you, I get the best ideas from you guys. That's what's so fun about teaching classes is it's almost like a collaboration.
They're already looking forward to our next class, maybe possibly Christmas wreaths.
I am your wreath master, guys. We can do some fun stuff. Just again, adhering it. All right. I kind of just try not to, like, you know, get all the colors next to each other. So I try not to put two green next to each other and break it up a little bit if I can. That's why I went with the 3 colors, because it gave me enough to break that up. But honestly, how quick and easy is this? I mean, you can do so much. You can definitely get your kids involved in this. I know I'm looking for fun ways to craft with my little guy when he gets here. I always have my niece and nephew over for Halloween. It's one of my favorite times to craft, and we watch The Nightmare Before Christmas, and we eat only Halloween themed food, and we make crafts all night and sit in front of the TV while we're doing it, watching Nightmare Before Christmas, and that way I can get them into bed at a decent time. All right, guys, that kind of sums it up. I think I'm going to add one more eyeball over here. I'm going to go with a red one.
They would like to know if you're teaching another class.
I would love to.
And Janice says she had a great time. This is the best class she's been to.
Oh, how fun. I love that. Thanks, guys. I'm so glad you were able to join and take some time out for yourself and just really, you know, focus on things that you enjoy. With everything we've got going on with kids and Zoom classes and quarantines and wildfires, all the things, it's really important to take time to get centered and enjoy things that make us happy at the end of the day, like this. Cathartic, fun, inspiring things. All right, guys, that pretty much sums her up. If you wanted to add any type of ribbon to the top, to adhere it to your door. I have like a fun door knocker on my front door, so I always tie some ribbon around it and then tie it around the door knocker. Again, a wreath hook would work. I would just make sure to keep in mind that you want to kind of stretch out that hook latch part on the bottom so it will fit around your wreath. I feel like this is probably the most interactive Michael's class I've taken so far, with fun conversation and fun crafting. Yay, that's so fun, guys. I am just so happy that you were able to join me. I look forward to seeing you guys again. And I really want to see what you come up with. So please do share it on social media, hashtag Make It With Michaels. And you can tag me at bliss.makes. And then if you're interested in more crafts, head over to blissmakes.com.
Thank you so much, Kristen. And for anybody who's looking, our classes are available usually 24 hours after they've been recorded. So this class has been recorded. It will be available to everybody, whether you joined class or not, in 24 hours at michaels.com/classes. And if you would like to look through the upcoming classes, we've got a link to that in the chat as well.
And one more time, someone asked what the website was. It's Bliss, B-L-I-S-S, makes, M-A-K-E-S.com, because making is my bliss.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys had a good time.